They don't want you sharp. They want you spinning. They'd rather see you buried in endless distractions, scrolling, reacting, searching for something that never arrives. Why? Because a man who can master his focus becomes something rare, something dangerous. Not through volume, not through emotion, but through precision. And precision frightens them. Machiavelli saw this clearly long before the noise of modern life. He understood what most men today have forgotten. Power begins with attention. The second you start caring too much about the opinions of others, you stop owning your mind. You give away fragments of yourself. But the moment you redirect that energy back to your own path, the game shifts. The more you commit to your direction, the more they start following yours. This isn't philosophy. This is war. Every moment you spend chasing validation, every meaningless argument you dive into, every fleeting trend you blindly follow it, all costs you something. A little energy here, a little focus there. Slowly, quietly, your strength seeps out and you become part of the noise you once tried to rise above. The world doesn't need to silence you, it just drowns you. That's why self-focus is no longer optional. It's your weapon. Reclaim your energy not with rage, not with panic, but with cold, quiet strategy. Let them react while you remain still. Let them justify while you make moves. Let them shout while you think. Focus isn't isolation, silent control. It's ruling your own mind before someone else programs it for you. So, if you're tired of bleeding energy into hands that never deserved it, write this down. My silence builds empires, because from now on, your attention is no longer up for auction. It belongs to you, and only you. Distraction is the enemy that smiles. Today, power isn't stolen with force, it's traded for clicks. The most dangerous weapon they use isn't a sword, it's a notification. Headline. A perfectly timed hit of dopamine that makes you feel just enough to forget how to think. They don't have to destroy you, just have to keep you entertained. Because a distracted man, he never becomes a dangerous one. Machiavelli warned us. He who controls the people must control their minds first. In this world, they don't need chains. We've built algorithms, envy loops, noise storms. In the moment you react to every buzz, every beep, pew, hand them the keys to your thoughts. Each time you reach for your phone without intention, every time you chase the next hot topic, the next opinion, the next validation, you chip away at your own empire, one piece here, one piece there, till nothing remains but dust. They want your focus cheap. Your job, make it priceless. Guard it like a fortress. Cut off the things that drain you, even the ones that once thrilled you, even the ones that once felt like connection. Because true power doesn't need to be seen. It needs to be concentrated. If you're done renting out your mind for noise, comment below. I guard my focus like a weapon. Remember, the man who protects his attention protects his future. Isolation isn't weakness. It's refinement. Yes, they'll say you've changed. They'll whisper you've become cold, that you've withdrawn, turned distant. But what they really mean is you're no longer available. For their chaos, you've started building in silence, and that terrifies them. Machiavelli understood this well. A man who is wise must learn to be alone with his thoughts. Not because solitude is easy or convenient, but because true power is often born in moments of silence. In a world that glorifies visibility and noise, the man who disappears is the one they secretly fear. Why? Because when he returns, he comes back 10 times sharper, more focused, more dangerous. You're not avoiding people out of weakness. You're avoiding the noise, the chaos, the emotional clutter that clouds clarity. Every second you spend justifying your intentions is a second lost, a moment that could have been spent creating undeniable results. Because in the end, your results will speak louder than your presence ever could. Strategic isolation is not retreat, it's regeneration. When the world rushes to display their lives for approval and attention, you disappear not out of fear, but out of intention. While others are busy broadcasting and chasing validation, you choose silence. Why? Because silence is where recalibration happens. While they're consumed by the need to be seen, You're mastering the art of becoming someone who commands attention without even trying. Have you ever felt the quiet pull to vanish, to disappear and transform? That feeling isn't weakness. It's wisdom. Honor it. Follow it. It means you're preparing for a version of yourself the world isn't ready for yet. If that's the road you're on now, write this in the comments. My silence is sacred. Because when you return, you won't just be different, they won't even recognize you. Number 3. The one who reacts first loses. Power doesn't. Yell. It watches. It waits. It plans. It strikes only when necessary. But the weak, they react instantly, loudly, emotionally, and that's all it takes to lose the game. Just one bad reaction, and you give away your power. People provoke not because they care, but to test if they still control you. Every emotional flinch, every defensive word, every over-explanation confirms they still hold the strings. You become predictable, easily manipulated. As Machiavelli warned, the first method for estimating the intelligence of a ruler is to look at the men he has around him. But in today's world, power is seen in how still a man stands while surrounded. By noise, when they can't read you, they start to fear you. When they can no longer provoke you, they lose control. Your silence becomes their confusion. Composure becomes a silent threat, because most people don't know how to handle someone who simply does not flinch. Train your emotions like a warrior. Sharpens his blade, no response unless it serves your plan. No reaction unless it furthers your mission. No explanation unless it buys you time or leverage. Everything else? You keep it hidden. Let them wonder. Let them drown in the mystery of your stillness. This is why few ever reach real power there. Addicted to reaction. Addicted to proving, defending, and explaining. They crave being understood. But the Machiavellian man, he seeks to remain unreadable. If someone has ever baited you into defending your peace, leave this in the comments. I am not here to react. I am here to rule. Because the less they know about you, the more they fear what you're becoming. Number 4. Self-focus builds. Leverage. Leverage controls everything. In every room, there's a man who speaks and a man who listens. One is trying to prove something. The other is collecting data, measuring weakness, identifying emotional cracks. Guess which one wins in the SHR? Long run, one is loud, the other is listening. One is desperate for recognition, the other is quietly calculating. You don't need to dominate every room with your words or presence. In fact, true dominance lies in mastering what drives everyone else's attention. Your self-focus is your forge, your hidden weapon. Every hour you spend sharpening your thoughts, protecting your energy, choosing discipline over distraction, you're not just improving, you're building silent leverage. You're crafting psychological tools that most people don't even realize exist. There's no need to shout when your results echo louder than any voice ever could. Machiavelli didn't obsess over fairness. He obsessed over control. And here's the harsh reality. People don't truly respect what's available. They respect what they're afraid to lose. That's why becoming the man who can't be manipulated, who doesn't chase validation, who walks away without looking back, that is power. Not volume, not charm, not forced popularity, but cold, deliberate, earned control. True influence isn't loud, it's invisible. It's felt, not heard. So if you want to become unforgettable, disappear. Disappear into your discipline. While they laugh, doubt, and forget, let them. Let them enjoy their moment because they won't see you coming. When you return with undeniable results, they'll remember you in a different light. They'll fall silent not because you've changed your voice, but because you raised your value. That's the power of extreme self-focus. It's not about becoming better than anyone else. It's about becoming so composed, so rare, so deeply tuned into your mission that you remove yourself from the competition entirely. When they attempt to rival you, you don't resist you. Rise. You stand above the noise, not in spite of it, but because you no longer need to shout to be heard. Let them chase relevance like it's air. You chase refinement like it's survival. Let them argue for attention. You build substance in silence. Let them scream for recognition. You make your absence cost something. Because once you've turned inward, once you've committed to the inner empire, you stop negotiating your worth outward. If you're out there building your empire in silence, well, no one's watching, then leave this in the comments. My focus is my throne, because in the end, the world doesn't submit to the loudest voice. It bows to the calmest mind with the deepest leverage. Number 5. Kill the need to be seen. Most people aren't chasing real power. They're chasing attention, and they confuse the two. They crave being seen, heard, praised, applauded. But here's the dark truth. No one tells you the more you need to be seen, the easier you are to control. Because the moment your value depends on noise, you're no longer dangerous. You're predictable. You become a puppet to the applause. Validation becomes your leash, a quiet, seductive leash dressed up in likes, emojis, and compliments. And the cruelest part, it doesn't choke you. It flatters you. It seduces you. It makes you believe you're free, even as it leads you exactly where they want you to go. Have you ever wondered why truth feels ignored while performance gets praised? The answer is simple. The system rewards comfort, not courage. The algorithm is designed to feed you praise when you conform, when you're demanded to starve you when you dare to be real. That's not affirmation. That's manipulation with polish. Looks like encouragement, sounds like support, but it's crafted control disguised as praise. Machiavelli didn't play that game, wasn't looking for applause. He didn't crave the noise of the crowd. He pursued was far more valuable: control, influence, results. And he understood something most people never will. The more you rely on others to validate your worth, the less of it you truly possess. If your confidence depends on their gaze, on their reaction, on their approval, you've already surrendered the battlefield of your mind. That's the hard truth. And yet, most remain trapped in that invisible prison chained to the reactions of strangers. Desperate for recognition, unaware of how naked they've become, their sense of self is hanging by a thread. One negative comment unravels it. Silent moment and their energy crashes. A delayed reply becomes personal rejection. This isn't personality. It's programmable behavior running on external input. And if you can be programmed, you can be controlled. If you can be controlled, you can be broken. But there is another path, a colder one, a lonelier one. But it's also the only one that leads to real, unshakable power. It demands you validate yourself, not through expression, not through noise, not through social performance, but through execution. Through stillness, not selfies. Through consistent progress, not praise. That's the Machiavellian mindset. The fewer details they know, the more uncertain and therefore intimidated they become. Power grows in the dark, not in the spotlight. This is where the rewiring begins. When you do something difficult, don't rush to share it. Let it solidify in silence. When you make a strategic move, don't post about it. Let the world feel the quake, not hear the warning. When you succeed, don't chase applause. Let your absence create suspense, and your emergence create awe. Power isn't found in being seen. It's found in becoming undeniable without needing to try. Understand this. The man who constantly needs attention will never build anything real. He spends his time performing, adjusting, and explaining. Too distracted to take control, too reactive to stay centered. He becomes a puppet, smiling when praised, collapsing when ignored. His strength depends on feedback. His focus is lost in pleasing the audience. But the Machiavellian? He's never the loudest voice. It's the one they never forget, because when he finally moves, it's impossible to ignore, of course. There's a price for silence. People will misread you. They'll call you cold, arrogant, distant, emotionless. Let them talk. That's the tax you pay for power. Those who crave visibility spend their lives correcting every misinterpretation. But those who know their value, they remain composed while others exhaust themselves trying to figure them out. You must become the ghost in their system. Not always seen, but always felt. Not shouting, but always watching. Not aggressive, but unshakable. Your movements puzzle them. Your quiet frustrates them. Your focused detachment terrifies them because you don't crave recognition. You crave effectiveness. And that's why most people stay stuck. They grow addicted to visibility before they've done anything visible. They want applause without effort. They want validation without vision. They want a following before they build a foundation. But that isn't power. That's illusion. And delusion is the enemy of every strong mind. You must disconnect from that addiction. Starve it, kill it, place it with something more valuable. An obsession with mastery. Not surface-level productivity, but deep internal growth. Become invisible for a while. Let your mind stretch and strengthen in the dark, far from noise, far from distraction. Let your work, not your words, become your validation. Because when that sense of worth comes from within, when it's rooted in what you've built rather than who noticed, no one can take it away from you. And here's the shift most never see coming. The moment you stop needing anything from the world is the moment the world starts needing everything from you. That's the turning point. That's when leverage tilts in your favor. That's when silence becomes power. That's how legends rise quietly, intentionally. Always. Moving 10 steps ahead while the rest are busy announcing their next move. If you really want to test yourself, go silent. For a day, then a week, then extend it to 2, then a month. See who notices. See who checks in when you're no longer feeding their expectations. Watch what crumbles without your constant input. Most importantly, see what grows. Your mind, once uninterrupted, becomes sharper. Your focus locks in. Your emotions settle. And your decisions, they become surgical precise, emotionless, effective. That's what the world fears. Not the man who's loud and always visible, but the one who disappears to build and returns without warning. The one who doesn't seek applause because he's been too busy constructing empires in silence. You must kill the impulse to post before it's done. The urge to show the plan before it's executed. It's the craving to celebrate before you've conquered. That's the virus infecting modern men. They've confused attention for achievement, noise for progress. But the Machiavellian man knows the difference. And that's why he wins. Not because he's louder, but because he's not. Exhausted from pretending, and when they finally see you really see you, they'll ask, how? How did you grow while everyone else was busy performing? How did you evolve in silence while the rest were explaining themselves into exhaustion? How did you become untouchable without ever needing to raise your voice? And your answer will be silence. Because real growth doesn't explain itself. It arrives. It changes the energy in the room. It speaks without words. It doesn't ask to be noticed. It demands it quietly. If you've begun to step away from the performance, right? This below, I'm not here to be seen. I'm here to be sovereign. Because the man who no longer seeks their eyes, their praise, their permission, becomes the shadow that rules them all. Number 6. Discipline is the fortress. Control time. Control the game. Weak men wait for motivation to show up. Strong men, they build systems. They don't need emotion to move. They move because they've chosen discipline as a way of life. The untouchable man doesn't wait to feel ready. He decides to be ready every single day, without emotion, without excuse, without delay. Because in the real game of power, discipline isn't just a habit. It's your fortress, your shield, your strategy. And in this game, time is the only currency that holds true value. It can't be borrowed. It can't be recovered. It can only be spent. Once it's gone, it's gone. Forever. Look around you. Everyone is busy, but few are effective. They chase outcomes without routine. They burn energy without direction, confuse motion with progress, but not you. Not if you're truly here. It's not here to look active. You're here to own time. And that starts by building mastery over the invisible structure behind your days, the part no one sees. The quiet scheduling, the mental clarity, the refusal to drift. Machiavelli didn't need planners or checklists. He needed one thing: control. The control of men, the control of situations. But before you can master either, there's one domain you must conquer first, the battlefield of your hours. The first war Machiavelli would have you win is against your own wasted time. Because if you can't command your time, if you let it slip, by unguarded, you're already living as a tool used, directed, manipulated by forces outside yourself. Time is where power hides, and most men never touch it. They live on autopilot. They wake up when they feel like it. They move only when pushed. Their lives are shaped not by intention, but by circumstance. They aren't chained by others there. Enslaved by the absence of structure, their freedom is an illusion. But the Machiavellian mind doesn't tolerate that. It sharpens itself in the cold repetition of routine. Relentless, calculated, quiet. Its edge is forged in what the world calls boring, and that's exactly why it works. Your discipline must become sacred, not flashy, not loud, not performed. For likes or posted on social media, for praise, sacred you rise not because you joined a 30-day challenge, but because your mission demands it. You train your body not for aesthetics, but because weakness is a liability. You control your schedule not to boost productivity metrics, but because chaos belongs to the powerless. This is how power is built, not in moments of inspiration, but in deliberate consistency. Every hour you control is a brick in your fortress. Every completed task is a weapon added to your arsenal. Every routine you refuse to break becomes another wall between you and the mediocrity that once controlled your life. While others chase comfort, you pursue control. It's not about being perfect. It's about becoming predictable to yourself. When your body begins to move before your mind has a chance to resist, that's the threshold where weakness dies. That's when your day is no longer dictated by how you feel, but by what you've decided. There is no such thing as freedom without structure. The freest man is not the one with endless choices, but the one who has mastered limitation. He doesn't drown in options. He thrives in discipline. He doesn't waste energy deciding. He acts from design, as rituals, systems, precision, and those routines, they kill confusion. They erase hesitation. They eliminate the need for external pressure or motivation, because most people sabotage themselves with randomness. They set grand goals, but build no habits to support them. That's why they fall. They chase motivation like children chasing fireflies, hoping the spark returns tomorrow. But it rarely does, because motivation is for spectators. It comes and goes like weather. Systems are for kings. You don't need to feel like doing it. You just do it regardless of how you feel. That's discipline. And no, it's not sexy. It's not glamorous. It's not even fun. But it's the defining line between the man who watches time slip away and the one who turns every minute into momentum. Machiavelli would have said it like this: don't wait for the world to give you a crown. Build a clock and make the world run on your time. Because the more structure you build, the less room chaos has to enter. And the more ordered your inner world becomes, the less the outside world can disturb it. Time is the battlefield. Most show up unarmed. But you come prepared, hour by hour, or choice by choice. You use time like a sword. Cut the fat. Eliminate waste. Guard your mornings as if they were treasure. Don't trade them for noise. Don't surrender them to chaos. Use your nights for stillness and reflection, not for distraction. Sleep with the confidence of a king who knows he earned his rest. Rise like a warrior answering a call. Move through the day like a ghost, silent, efficient, untouchable. There will always be temptations. Always distractions that scream louder than your strategy. Always noise louder than your plan. But you already understand something most never will. Chaos is the enemy. Noise is a trap. Emotion is a thief. Your power lies in not negotiating with any of them. You don't argue with weakness. You overpower it with structure. You don't listen to excuses. You outlast them with habit. You must make your routine heavier, more commanding than your excuses. So when doubt speaks, action has already begun. When emotion rises, momentum is already in motion. And that, right there, is the secret to mental power. It isn't about thinking more. It's about thinking less because your system already knows what to do. There's no internal debate, no hesitation, no need to get ready. You are ready because you've rehearsed discipline into identity. Eventually, that structure becomes who you are. You're no longer dragging yourself forward, you've evolved. You've become a man who no longer needs pressure to perform, who doesn't need stress or crisis to ignite movement. You've become a man whose habits don't need defending, because the results speak louder than any excuse ever could. And here's the final truth. Once they realize you don't waste time, they'll know instinctively you won't waste power either. And that's when fear sets in. Not because of your voice, not because of your presence, but because of your discipline, because of your consistency, because of your unshakable routine. That's your weapon, that's your fortress. That's your proof. If you've already moved beyond needing motivation, if you've chosen mastery instead, then write this in the comments. I don't follow motivation. I follow a code. Because from this moment forward, you're not just managing time, you're ruling it. Number 7. Emotional detachment is the weapon they'll never see coming. The most dangerous man in any room isn't the loudest. He's not the most emotional. He's the one who feels nothing, but sees everything. He doesn't react. He doesn't flinch. He simply observes with cold, surgical precision. While the modern world encourages openness at all costs, Machiavelli would teach you the opposite. Don't be vulnerable. Emotions themselves are not weakness. But emotional reactivity is. The moment they know what angers you, they can control you. The second they notice what makes you flinch, they begin to adjust their game. And once they realize they can provoke you into defending yourself, the balance of power shifts. You don't win by feeling more. You win by learning to separate emotion from execution. When they scream, you listen. When they insult, you calculate. When they try to trigger you, stay still. Because silence, the hands of a focused man, becomes a weapon sharper than any blade. It cuts deeper than words. It creates uncertainty, shifts power. Machiavelli understood the danger of emotion in the hands of men who seek control. He wrote, "Men are driven by two things, love and fear, but to be feared is far safer." Why? Because love requires your softness. It expects you to feel, to give, to expose your interior. But fear demands nothing, respects distance. It obeys silence. It cannot be negotiated with. And that's the essence of emotional detachment. It's not about being numb. It's about being unavailable to manipulation. You don't remove your emotions. ... You master them. You decide when to feel and when to fold your emotions back into yourself like carefully concealed weapons. Carried but never flashed. Ready but never displayed. Look around you. Really. Look. Most people are drowning not in events, but in their own reactions. They speak before thinking. They argue before understanding. They burn bridges impulsively, mistaking their emotional outbursts for strength. They think volume equals power. But it does. The emotionally detached man, he burns nothing. He lets others ignite their own chaos, while he remains untouched, watching from the sidelines with clarity and calm. Because real control isn't loud. It's calculated. It's composed. You want power? Then detach. But detach not with anger, not with cold bitterness. Detach with strategy. Stop arguing with fools. They're not listening. Stop seeking to be understood by those who refuse to understand. Stop reacting to every fluctuation in someone's tone, every roll of their eyes, every slight change in energy. That's how they trap you, by pulling you into their emotional arena. Your calm is not weakness. It's control. They won't know what to do with it, because silence cannot be argued with. Stillness, real stillness, makes insecure. People feel exposed. This is what separates the average from the elite. The average man is a slave to his impulses. Texts back instantly when provoked. He raises his voice when disrespected. He begs for closure. But the elite man, he closes the door without a sound. He walks away not out of defeat, but out of wisdom. He knows some battles aren't worth blood, especially when the battlefield is built on ego. And this isn't just theory. This is training. You have to condition yourself to sit in discomfort, to feel rage and not lash out, to feel insulted and say nothing. to feel abandoned and not chase. Because every single time you resist the pull to react, you sharpen your edge. You become the storm they never saw coming. Because power is not loud, it's clear. Clarity can't exist in a mind that is always reacting. Detachment is how you clear the fog. It's how you see people not as your feelings hoped they'd be, but as they truly are. When you detach, you don't lose your ability to feel. You gain the ability to see. You begin to notice patterns behind words. You see? Through manipulation, through desperation, through false praise and performative affection. You stop mistaking noise for love. Most men collapse because they still crave emotional comfort from the same people who keep wounding them. They chase closure from liars. It's validation from betrayers. It's understanding from the crowd. But the Machiavellian, man, he wants none of that. He wants results, not reconciliation. You don't need to prove your worth to people who refuse to see it. You don't need to explain the silence that protects you. You don't need to stoop into emotional wars just to feel seen. You rise not by being louder, but by being unreachable. You rise by letting the fools fight among themselves while you build in silence. And the best part? Once you detach, people notice. They sense the shift. They feel your stillness, but they can't read you. They don't know what you're thinking. And that mystery, that stillness, it unsettles them. Because a man they can read is a man they can predict. But a man who says nothing, shows nothing, reacts to nothing, that man terrifies them. Eventually, they will test you. They'll poke at your calm. They'll try to stir your silence. They'll throw bait laced with emotion just to get a rise. Don't move. They'll ask, why have you changed? Don't answer. They'll try to provoke you into explaining, into reacting. Don't bite. You've stepped into a new realm. A place where peace is no longer given, it is earned through power, not pity. If you truly want to level up, detach. Detach from the past, from worn-out stories, from the people who only feel close to you when you are broken, confused, or beneath your potential. Detach from the version of yourself that always had to explain every decision, justify every action, prove every step. That version, the one who begged to be seen, dies today, because when you move with calm precision, when your presence becomes still and unreadable, they assume you've lost feeling. But what you've really gained, is authority. The world doesn't reward those who bleed openly, rewards those who move with composure, who own their energy. The man who doesn't chase noise, who doesn't crumble in silence, who refuses to fight battles beneath his mission, that man becomes untouchable. And when people say you've gone cold, let them. When they whisper that you've changed, good. That means their access has been revoked. That means their control no longer works. So that means the old version of youth, the one they could predict, manipulate, or guilt, is dead and buried. So here's your choice. Stay reactive, emotionally tangled, manipulated forever. Or detach and become the one they can't touch, can't read, can't provoke. If you've started mastering the quiet, if you've noticed yourself pulling back from the circus of noise, the dance of false connection, write this: detachment is my power. I feel nothing. I lose nothing. Because when you stop reacting, you stop losing. And when you stop losing, you start rising. Solitude is where you become dangerous. Most people flee from it. They call it loneliness, as if it's a curse. They fear the quiet. They panic when the phone doesn't light up. When the room stills, they crumble. But they don't collapse from pressure. They collapse from the absence of distraction. Let's get this straight. Solitude is not a prison. It's purification. It's not where you vanish. It's where you emerge. It's in the silence that you meet the version of yourself the world has never seen, the one that isn't dependent on anyone's voice, the one that doesn't measure worth by followers, likes, or applause. No. The one who doesn't need to be heard because he's too busy becoming something lethal. You can't build sharpness in noise. Can't find clarity surrounded by clowns. You can't evolve when your mind is constantly being pulled into 1,000 fragments. Solitude strips it all away. Fakes fall off. The distractions dissolve. And what's left is Yura, real and uncomfortable. But that discomfort, that's the beginning of your rebirth. Machiavelli would never advise you to chase company when you're mentally weak. He wouldn't tell you to talk it out with those who drained you. He'd say, retreat, not to escape, but to refine. He'd say, withdraw from the noise. Let them wonder. Let your silence disturb them. Let your absence become feared. He'd tell you to build a life so solid, so clear in purpose. It doesn't need defending or explaining. Most men fail to heal because they seek comfort from those who wounded them. They stay emotionally accessible. They stay available to people who never deserved proximity. And in doing so, they stay owned. But the Machiavellian man disappears, not to sulk, not to beg, not to be missed. He disappears to sharpen, recalculate, to rise in silence. He's transforming. Solitude is not weakness. It's resistance training for the soul. It forces you to sit in stillness with your thoughts, not to run from them, not to distract yourself, but to face them head on without letting them consume you. You meet yourself there. Not the edited version, not the one dressed up for approval. It's a raw, unfiltered youth, the one you usually hide behind scrolling noise and shallow conversation. And when you truly face that version, when you stop flinching at your own reflection, something rare happens. You gain self-command. This world is loud with opinions, flooded with comparisons. But the man who can sit in solitude and hear only his own voice, that man becomes sovereign. You must learn to be emotionally self-sufficient. Your anchor must be internal, not external. You must become your own advisor, your own protector, your own fire. Because the man who does not rely on anyone for peace is a man no one can shake, no one can destroy. Here's the truth they won't tell you. Your enemies, your critics, your doubters, they don't fear your success. They fear your transformation. They hope you stay needy. They hope you stay emotionally reactive. They want you constantly clinging to relationships, to attention, to validation. They want you explaining yourself, defending your silence, proving your worth. Because the moment you truly embrace solitude, the moment you stop explaining and start building, you become untouchable. In solitude, the noise fades, and what emerges is not opinion, not distraction, but truth. Truth about your patterns, your excuses, your weaknesses. Most men avoid that mirror because it demands something they're not ready to pay. Discipline, change, letting go of comfort. But that's the cost, and only the serious are willing to pay it. This is why your solitude must be strategic. Not a retreat to sulk, but a fortress for construction. Don't isolate to escape. Isolate to rebuild. Create your system. Train your body. Sharpen your mind. Audit your relationships. Break your addictions. Redirect your energy toward mastery. Each silent day must move you closer to power. It's not further from life. And yes, they will notice. They'll whisper. They'll call you cold, different, distant. They'll wonder why you disappeared, why you no longer respond the way you used to. Let them wonder, because when you return, they'll realize the truth. You weren't avoiding them. You were surpassing them, quietly, deliberately. Without warning, a lion doesn't announce his hunt. He disappears into the shadows. He studies. He sharpens. And when he returns, he's faster, fiercer, unstoppable. That is what solitude builds. While they chase attention, you chase alignment. While they seek comfort, you seek clarity. While they crave the crowd, you build your discipline in the dark. Powerful men don't fear being alone. They require it, because they know the blueprint for greatness is written in isolation. That's where weaknesses are purged, where the mind becomes a weapon, where emotion is mastered, and purpose becomes sharp, unshakable. People say, I don't want to be alone, but they already are, emotionally abandoned by the very people they cling to, spiritually disconnected from their own mission, mentally enslaved by the opinions of strangers. What they fear isn't loneliness. They fear silence, because silence reveals the truth. Let silence strip you down to what you really are, and then fix it. Not for them, it's for you. You owe it to the man you could become. To kill every version of yourself that wastes time, that clings to noise, that is addicted to people, to comfort, to false purpose. Let those versions rot in the isolation chamber while you evolve into a weapon. Let the weak parts of youth, clinging to validation, excuses, and approval, decay in silence. You don't owe them a funeral. Their time is over.
Ow.
What lives now is the fire. And don't confuse this solitude with stagnation. Too many believe stillness means nothing is happening. But in the world of disciplined men, the real building happens in the dark, without fanfare, without a spotlight. No one witnesses the 4 o'clock A.M. wake-ups, the endless nights of study, the cold showers that harden the mind, the moments of silent breakdown followed by reflection. And that's fine, because true growth never begs to be noticed. It's not posted. It's not explained. Results don't scream. They arrive. And when they do, they demand respect without needing applause. Here's what happens when you weaponize solitude. People start returning, not out of loyalty, but curiosity. They notice a shift. They don't understand it, but they feel it. They sense your presence has changed, more grounded, less accessible. They feel your edges now, where once you were soft. Say less, but they listen more. Reveal less, yet somehow they feel more from you. And when they finally ask what happened, you say nothing. It's not out of spite, but because true transformation never explains itself. It becomes the answer to every question your silence created. So what do you do now? You vanish not aimlessly, but tactically. You disappear not from life, but from noise, from validation, from the draining cycle of proving yourself. 490. Days, you reclaim your hours. You study your habits. You master your reactions. You build the inner man. Let them think whatever they want, because what you're constructing isn't meant for their understanding. It's meant for their recognition when the time comes. And when that time arrives, you won't need to tell them. They'll feel it. You walk differently. Your pace slows. Not from uncertainty, but from control. Your eyes no longer scan for permission. Your voice doesn't shake, not because you're louder, but because now, finally, you know who you are. You've become someone they cannot define. They cannot manipulate you. They cannot weaken what they cannot reach. You've become your own force of nature. So here's your next move. Build your war room in solitude. Design your future in silence. Train your mind without an audience. Grow without being seen. And when the moment comes, execute without hesitation. Because if you're truly ready to weaponize solitude and evolve without applause, comment below. I disappear to evolve. I return unrecognizable. Because the moment you stop fearing loneliness, you become the one they silently fear. Number 9. Evolution is the final blow. You've been quiet, focused, alone, not broken rebuilding. They thought you vanished out of weakness. They thought your silence was defeat. What they never saw was the version of you dying and the weapon being forged in its place. Now you're different. It's not louder, not angrier, just colder, sharper, not numb but selective. Because now you understand how much energy was wasted. Trying to be understood in a world that rewards manipulation more than truth, you no longer crave revenge. You've outgrown it. Now you understand what Machiavelli lived by. Men must either be pampered or annihilated. Translated to today's world, you either protect your peace or eliminate every threat to it. There is no middle ground. You used to beg for explanations. Now you crave silence. You used to fight to prove your value. Now your results do the talking. You used to beg for peace. Now you are the storm. That's what deep, unwavering self-focus does to a man. It doesn't just refine you, it obliterates the older, weaker version of you with precision, slowly, silently, and without apology. It replaces it with a version that no longer needs to explain, defend, or seek understanding. It simply arrives. It dominates. This isn't about becoming cruel or cold-hearted. No, this is about becoming complete. You've stopped chasing comfort. You've stopped apologizing for evolving, for distancing yourself from the fragile, the fake, the familiar. You no longer tolerate betrayal under the disguise of closeness. You no longer keep company just to avoid solitude, because now you understand power doesn't beg. Power doesn't shrink. Power doesn't entertain weakness. Power stands alone, sharp-eyed, composed, calculating. You've mastered solitude. You've turned silence into strategy. You've stopped reacting to noise. You've stopped explaining yourself to those who would never explain themselves for you. And most importantly, you've stopped folding for people who expect you to bend, but would never break for you. And in that iron discipline, in that sacred silence, something rare was forged. You became unreadable. You became unstoppable. Became untouchable. Let them whisper now. Let them speculate about the shift in you. Let them reach out again with that same old manipulation you already studied like a textbook. This time, you don't respond. This time, you've evolved beyond access. Because the moment the world no longer holds space in your mind, it loses its grip on your future. This is what self-focus has created: a presence they can't compete with, a force they cannot replicate. You don't chase validation. You don't argue for control. You don't try to prove a point. You simply walk into rooms, and the atmosphere changes, not through noise, but through stillness. It's not through volume, but through certainty. It's not through attention, but through presence. And here's the quiet truth. You have no need to harm those who wronged you. Their punishment is already unfolding. They now have to watch what they lost. They have to see what you've become. It's the most silent, most devastating form of destruction. Not revenge, but disappearance and transformation. You don't need their regret. You don't crave their closure. Their lesson is your elevation. Their memory is your boundary. You've escaped the cycle, the chaos, the emotional blackmail. It's the invisible leash that used to tug you back every time you tried to rise. You burned that leash, and in its ashes you built something cold, calculated, relentless. Now, everything is intentional. Every hour is accounted for. Every word is chosen. Every movement is earned. Every interaction is filtered. And when people try to pull you back into the ghost of who you once were, they are met with distance, with boundaries, with silence. Because that version of you is gone. Buried beneath cold mornings, is forged in painful decisions, refined by lonely discipline. It no longer exists. You're not driven by motivation anymore. You're powered by structure. You're not ruled by emotion. You're driven by precision. You're not chasing revenge. You're too far evolved for it. That's what Machiavelli would have respected. Not the man who reacts impulsively, but the one who rises so far beyond petty conflict that he becomes untouchable, unreachable, and ultimately unknown to those who once believed they understood him. And if they ever try to return, you don't attack, you don't defend, you don't even speak. You simply no longer exist in their world, because now you operate in a realm they can't enter. That is the ultimate revenge. Evolution's so extreme they can't even trigger a response. Because what greater power is there than walking past the chaos that once consumed you without a blink, without a word, without a crack in your armor? Your mind is no longer a battlefield. It's a fortress reinforced by solitude, disciplined by silence, and guarded by unshakable clarity. Your time, it's sacred now. Not everyone has access. Your presence has become a rarity valuable. Controlled, selective, you've become what they secretly fear the most. A man who doesn't need anything from anyone, yet chooses everything with surgical precision. So what now? You keep building, quietly, consistently. You move in silence, not to hide but to construct, to sharpen, to prepare. You protect your peace like a weapon, because you now understand that inner stillness is not softness. It's strategy. You study while others scroll. You plan while they gossip. You train while they doubt you, mock you, misunderstand you. And every single day you stay committed to this path. You widen the gap. You increase your distance from the average, the distracted, the emotionally impulsive. You separate from the noise. You multiply your leverage. You're no longer the man they once knew. Because that man, he served his role. He endured. stumbled so that you could rise. And now he's gone. Replaced by someone who no longer flinches under pressure, who no longer folds to weakness, who no longer fails himself out of fear or insecurity. You've become the thing they hoped. You'd never be fully in control, unshakable, unreachable, unbought. So if you've walked this journey with me, from distraction to discipline, from emotional chaos to cold, clear control, then leave a mark. Write this in the comments below. TBI can't reach me anymore. I've become the silence they can't decode, because remember this, the ultimate power isn't loud. It doesn't beg for applause, doesn't chase validation, doesn't seek closure. It just arrives, complete, unannounced, undeniable.